Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. I had some time to sit and play with some of the new Simon Says Stamp December dies that were just released, and I couldn't resist using these new picture book penguins on a card. So there's 3 new picture book characters. There's the secret penguin, the happy penguin, and the hugging penguin. So I ran these through my die cut machine first with just some black cardstock, and while I was at it, I also die cut the new Oh Hello There Wafer die from black cardstock as well. And then I ran the penguins through with white cardstock, and then I ran them through one final time with a little bit of Simon's Sunshine cardstock because you need to get their little beaks. So there's a bunch of back and forth, and when I'm doing anything like that, I like doing multiples because you're getting, you know, more cuts at the same time, etc., etc. So my final die cutting for this card, I did a piece of white cardstock that was already cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I die cut the bottom portion of it with the Drifting Stitches Borders die. And then the top portion, I used the new nested talk bubbles that I was like raving about when I did the December release and review video. Love it, love it. So I ran all those through. So now I've got all my little die cuts, and I'm going to start with these little penguins. And this is the first time I've actually used these picture book characters. I've been like building up the collection of all of them, of course. But I knew I wanted to pop these up with some dimensions, so I think the easiest way to do this is to just adhere them to some copy paper. So I just have a piece of that on my desk here, and I chose copy paper because it's thinner, easier to cut through, and it's not going to add a bunch of extra weight like cardstock would. If you're not planning on using any like foam tape, you could easily assemble these like and adhere them directly to your card. That would work fine, but this gives me a little more like wiggle room with where I want to place things. So I just start adhering the pieces down with little dabs of Nuvo adhesive. This is kind of my liquid adhesive of choice. It's either this or my multi-medium matte from Ranger. But I find more often than not, I'm really happy with this glue, especially when I'm doing a lot of gluing. So I usually reserve my multi-medium matte for small things. So I just went along adhering all of my little pieces to the copy paper to build my little penguins here. And like I said, I was using small dabs of glue. I'm not completely coating the back of every single piece, like all the way to the very edges. And that serves me well in this point because I'm going to just take my scissors and I'm angling them away from the image, and I'm kind of undercutting the image so that the copy paper is not going to show around the edges. It's actually going to end up being cut a little bit smaller, which is easier to do because I don't have glue going all the way to the edge. If it was glued up right to the edge, you would basically have to have like a little bit of that white showing, which I wouldn't like at all. So I'm just able to quickly undercut this. I find that just really quick and easy, and I just went along. And again, since it was copy paper, it's really thin, easy to cut. If it was cardstock backing this, it would take longer because, you know, it's harder to cut. So I quickly, and again, these are penguins, so they're very simple images, like they have a simple outline, so it's very easy to do. Although most of the picture book characters have simpler outlines, so it's easy to do this, and I will have another video coming up, because once you get started with these, you can't stop. So, anyway, got my little penguins assembled, and I set them aside. For this speech bubble at the top of my card, I'm going to adhere that Oh Hello There word dies. And instead of, which for me is kind of a big deal, instead of adhering them the way they are die cut, you know, how they're arranged and everything, I decided to kind of spread them out a little bit across this word bubble and just adhere them with that same multimedia matte adhesive, and just kind of stretched it out a tiny little bit just to kind of fill it in a little bit more. So after I had that all adhered, I'm going to make my card base, which is some Simon AUDREY blue cardstock. So it's cut to 4 1/4 by 11 inches. So I'm going to score it at 5.5. So this will be a top folding A2 size card. And I'm going to pop everything on here with foam tape. Since I did just die cutting, this is a relatively simple card. It just involves like die cutting and then adhering. So I'm going to pop everything up with foam tape just to give it that extra dimension. So I adhered my word bubble, and then I adhered my little like snowdrift at the bottom. And then I'm going to pop my little penguins onto this. They also have foam tape on the back of them. So I'm going to pop them into place. And then off camera, I'd actually die cut just another piece of white cardstock with that Drifting Stitches border die. And I'd also die cut and assembled with just one more penguin because I needed something on the inside. So that's got to, you know, finish it off and kind of the continuity of the little scene. So these I'm just going to adhere flat to the inside of the card with that Nuvo adhesive so the card closes easily and isn't, you know, all bubbled up if I used foam tape with these. And then as a final bit of embellishment, I was going to leave this like this, but I had to add something. I pulled out the Simon Says Stamp Colorful Confetti and went a little nuts with that and just kind of sprinkled it liberally around this card. It just kind of brought in more color and just some fun with these cute little penguins. So once I was kind of happy with where I had placed them all, I'm just going to adhere them all into place with that same Nuvo adhesive. So I'm just going to squeeze that into all the little spots. I'm just using my little Marvy jewel picker to pick up these little confetti sequins and then press them into place and then let everything dry. And this card is done. So as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post, and I will have links to all of the supplies used. So you can check out the description box below the video for my blog post and all that info. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and commenting and thumbs upping my videos. I really, really appreciate it. It really does help. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.